She's not from here. Hey. How would you like to come hang with us tonight?
So, first of all, congratulations on the huge success of the show on HBO Max. Yeah. And let's start at the very beginning. This is your first role on TV. So tell me, how did you get the part, and what did it mean to you to get your big break on a new version of a show that's been so popular over the years?
Yeah, I mean, it's been absolutely incredible. The audition process was quite long. First, I did a self-tape in my dorm room, and I was trying to make it look as pretty as possible. So I put my curtains like on the wall, and then I put like string lights. I don't know. I was just trying to be like, hey, I'm creative, like cast me. So I did that once, and then I did another self-tape, and then I auditioned in person 3 different times, and which was a good sign as an actor because it kind of says that they're trying to find a place for you. And then the last one that I auditioned for was Monet. So it worked out well. And Josh Safran, he told me that because of my audition, they kind of reworked Monet in a different way, and they added some elements to her that they saw from me, which was amazing to have influence on the character. But yeah, then I got the part. When I got it, I screamed. My boyfriend thought someone died. I threw my phone across the room. I started crying. It was probably one of the best moments of my life, and ever since, it's been incredible.
So you auditioned for other roles?
I auditioned for every female role. I auditioned for Luna, Soya, Audrey, and Julian, and then the last one was Monet.
Oh, great. So were you a fan of the original Gossip Girl before getting cast? Did you watch it before? Because you are very young, but I'm sure you were aware of the phenomenon it was.
Yeah, I was aware of it. I didn't watch it when it originally came out, but over quarantine, I did binge watch it. I wanted to be a little careful, though, about, being influenced by the characters, just because, we're new characters and we're dealing with new things, and, it's a different show, but it's in the same world. So I kind of wanted to get the tone for it. But yeah, I was obsessed. It's incredible. It's addicting to watch.
Yeah, it is. So you play Monet, as you said. She's one of Julian's best friends, or let's say minions, as in the original with Blair, who had her own minions. But this time they're more than that. They have more agency, more power. So what can you tell me about that? About how does the show update that role?
Yeah, I think it was really important to elevate that role and the role of the minion. Also because, ultimately I am a person of color and Zion is a person of color. So I think they kind of looked at it and were like, we need to rework this. They can't just be working for her, because people want to see characters that are fully fleshed out. They want to know things about every little character. So yeah, I think we're really trying to make these characters well-rounded, and definitely like Monet and Luna, like every single sabotage in the show comes from Monet and Luna. Like we're like puppeteers pulling the strings. And with Julian, for Monet, she's kind of like a work project for her. So it was kind of hard for me to find the balance between how much of that do I show versus how much of the friendship side that do I add into that. So that was a part of my process as well. But yeah, they have more agency. I think Monet, Luna, and Gossip Girl are the 3 people that have the most agency in the show.
Yeah. But you mentioned Luna. Let's talk about her, because you two make a really fun duo to watch. So how would you describe their friendship and how it's working with Zion Moreno?
Zion is my best friend. Genuinely, hands down, she's like a sister. I love her to pieces, and working with her is a blessing. We pull from each other, we riff off of each other, and we kind of just get each other's sense of humor and timing, which I think in the second half of the season you can even see a little more. We really get into it and pick up on each other's nuances and processes. But I think they make a great duo because they kind of contrast each other. I like to describe Monet as the dark and Luna as the light. She has a little more comedy, a little more emotion and friendship and loyalty. And sometimes they butt heads because of that, because Monet is a little bit more, cutthroat and mean.
Yeah. Okay. So we of course have to talk about diversity and representation, because one thing that the new Gossip Girl does is putting diverse people in front and center, ethnically, sexually. So your character is a lesbian, Luna is a trans woman. There are more queer characters, Black main characters. So this is something that the original didn't have. So it must have been refreshing for you to be on a show that highlights that, right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So refreshing and so fulfilling as an artist, because, as an actor, you want to be part of something fun and, with the fun costumes and with the cool, beautiful places in New York. But underneath that, it feels so fulfilling and good to be making a difference and to be inspiring people at home. People on Twitter tell me that Monet encourages them to come out to their families. And that is something that I never imagined was in my future. And I would have loved to see Monet on my screen when I was coming out as a teenager. As a bisexual woman, it feels incredible to take on this responsibility.
That's awesome. So social media is central in the world of Gossip Girl, of course. And Monet is Julian's social media manager, actually. So what is your relationship with social media, and what do you think it's the message that the show wants to send about it, if there is one?
Yeah, I think the show does a great job of kind of illustrating that social media isn't the most important thing. You see that in Julian. She really struggles with it. She struggles with how much of my time and my real self do I give to social media versus my sister, versus actual blood and actual family. And her sister coming to town kind of catapults that for her. Because, before she was just an influencer and she was okay with it, and that was all that she knew. But when her sister comes, she kind of takes a minute and she's like, wait, I don't really know what to do now. And for me, excuse me, personally, social media is hard for me to navigate because I have never had this many followers. And I've never had this much influence. When I got the show, I had 3,000 followers, and now I'm close to 100,000, which is insane to me. But I have to remind myself that it's not just a number, they're actual people. And for me, that's what makes it easy to kind of separate the two. And it's hard for me to navigate how much of my true self I show on social media, because I feel like right now on Instagram, everyone's trying to be like, this is me, I'm being authentic, I'm being raw. Oh, I just took this picture randomly. But no, it's always cultivated. It's always curated. And I think ultimately, as much as we like to say that our true selves are what we show on social media, it's always going to be a different person. But as it should be, I think that my relationship with, my followers should be different than my relationship with my best friend and my mom and my partner. So I'm just now starting to navigate social media. I'm just trying to take it slow.
Speaking of Gossip Girl, the figure of Gossip Girl in social media, let's talk about that big reveal in the first episode, because I hope everyone's seen it by now. We'll put up a spoiler disclaimer. But what did you think of the twist revealing, who's Gossip Girl in the very first episode, and why do you think they did it?
Yeah, I think at first when I read the script, I had the initial reaction that everyone's going to have, wait, what? That's the whole Gossip Girl. That's the whole thing. We don't know who it is. And the whole show is us trying to figure it out. But I think it was very necessary. Once I read the whole script, I was like, oh, this makes total sense. This had to happen. If it was a blog, some kid in his basement would be able to hack it and figure it out immediately, because now we're in this age where, everyone is kind of up on the tech and we know how to do things. But I think it was necessary to the show. And I also think it gives the audience a little bit of feeling like they're kind of in the world. It's a little bit interactive that way, because they get to see behind the scenes of what the characters that they're watching don't know yet, which I think is exciting.
Yeah. It is definitely. So fashion is also very important in Gossip Girl. Of course, the original show was a trendsetter. Tell me about this one, about the fashion on the new Gossip Girl and your character in particular. How was the process of finding her look and her style?
Yeah, so Eric Naiman is absolutely amazing, and for Monet specifically, he pulled a lot of inspiration from the 90s, from 90s runway models like Naomi Campbell was one of the biggest inspirations. So she's in matching, tweed skirt jacket sets, and she's very like feminine in her dressing, which I think is really cool. She has a lot of, she's extravagant. She has a bunch of jewelry. Her jewelry is loud. She's clanking when she walks in the room. And I think that's really important for Monet because she's a powerhouse. So you hear her when she's coming. But yeah, the fashion now is much more modern. In the first episode, there's a fashion show that features Christopher John Rogers, which is absolutely amazing, featuring, a young Black designer in the first episode for the major moment is incredible. So yeah, and you'll get to see way more of stuff like that.
So are you filming part 2 now, or is it already done?
It's done.
Tell me about that. Okay,
it's done.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so I'll ask you about that a bit later. But first, I want to know you've been working together for some time now. So I want to know how's the cast getting along? Did you bond right away? You told me about Zion. What is a day on the set of Gossip Girl like for you?
Yeah.
With them?
Well, it's a lot of different personalities, but somehow they work together. I think the girls have kind of formed like a little sisterhood thing, and the boys like grow out together and have like a little boys club. But it works. I mean, we all genuinely get along and like each other. And sometimes on set, we could get tired of each other if we're there for 12 hours. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like, I don't know, it kind of feels like a little family.
Mm-hmm. So another thing that sets the new Gossip Girl apart from the original show is how explicit it is sexually, language-wise. It's very raunchy. So the old one aired on the CW, and it was already scandalous for that time, for a teen show. But this one takes it to a whole new level, I think. So what can you tell me about that risky aspect of the show? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's shocking. But I think what Josh is trying to do with this show is be authentic and really show behind the scenes of what teenagers do and how they behave and how they act. And if we're making a show about teenagers, we're going to show all of it. I also think Josh just loves shock value. It like makes his day, which is incredible. I don't know. I love being real and authentic. I'm not sure if a 9-year-old should be watching Gossip Girl. I'm sure some of them do, but but yeah, I think it's important for the authenticity of the show.
Mm-hmm. So I've read that you didn't have the best experience in high school with bullying and feeling ostracized. So how does that experience connect to being on Gossip Girl now?
Yeah, well, now I'm kind of thankful for my bullies, actually, because they gave me inspiration for Monet. And for me, that's really awesome because I feel like I'm taking the power back by putting these people into my character and really, pulling inspiration from them. But yeah, high school for me was interesting. I had good times. Once I found my space, once I found theater and the theater geeks or whatever, I was very happy. So I kind of just, hid away in the theater and, was in rehearsal all the time. But it was difficult to navigate. I also came out in high school. I had a surgery in high school that was very invasive. I had to learn how to walk again. I found myself in high school, though. I had a lot of experiences that really made me who I am today.
What's a character or a show that has inspired you or influenced you in coming out or in expressing your sexuality?
A show. Sorry. Let me think about that. I'm not sure. I think for me, it was more so theater. like Fun Home. I don't know. I remember seeing Fun Home on Broadway, and I was like, wow, this is good. I don't know. I just feel like seeing people be who they are in any sense, unapologetically, was inspiring to me. Whether that was in music or TV or film or theater, seeing people be authentically themselves inspired me to do the same. Because, coming from LA, everyone's trying to be fake and trying to steer far away from who they really are. So that kind of, influenced me. But when I got to New York, I saw people, walking down the street in tutus and like going to the grocery store in drag. And I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
That's beautiful. The shows, as I said before, the show's a huge success for HBO Max. It's their biggest Max original launch so far, if I'm not mistaken. So how do you feel being part of something that's being seen by so many people and now finally in Europe too?
Yeah, I mean, it almost doesn't even feel real. It's hard for me to conceptualize how many people are seeing me on their screen. Josh actually retweeted a tweet that Ariana Grande wrote where she was like, oh my God, they used my song. Like, I'm fangirling right now. And I was like, first I was like, why are you fangirling? Like, you're Ariana Grande. And then I was like, oh my God, Ariana Grande saw my face. Like, that's insane. So I still feel.
She knows I exist.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. I that's wild. So I don't know. I still feel like a little baby in this world, but I'm having a great time.
Yeah, of course. Anytime that a show or a movie comes back after a long time with a sequel or reboot, fans of the original are sometimes divided. So what would you say it's worth it for fans of the original Gossip Girl to check the new one, because it's not a remake. It takes place in the same universe, right?
Right. Yeah. I was a little nervous about that. Sorry, I was a little nervous about that just because people are really protective over Gossip Girl. Sorry, I have a dog.
Is he talking? I mean,
I guess so.
It sounded human.
Yeah, I guess he wants to answer the question for me.
Let him.
I think that, I was a little nervous because people are really protective over Gossip Girl. It's like a cult classic. But there's a lot of things that we touch on that I feel like people will gravitate to and relate to. Like Zoya specifically, I feel like we've all had an experience like that once in our lives where we're the new person in town. We're walking into a space where we don't know anyone and we feel alone and ostracized. So her character is really important to me because I see a lot of myself in Zoya, and I think a lot of people will. I don't want to make anyone watch something they don't want to watch, but I would encourage people to check it out and see if they do agree with the changes, because I do.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask about part 2. What can you tell me about it? And where would you like to see your character go in the future? What side of her would you like to explore in the future?
Yeah, well, the two answers I have kind of go together. I really want to get into her background and her backstory and, her relationship with her parents. Does she have siblings? And what are those moments where we can see Monet be vulnerable? There has to be something, that breaks her down. There has to be something that breaks down that tough exterior. So I really want to find out what that is and get into that. And we do in part 2. Just a little bit, you can see Monet start to open up as a character, and you start to see the nuances that make her a real person. I feel like in the first part, she kind of feels not really human. She doesn't really have any other emotions than anger and frustration. But in part 2, you can see her really start to, her humanity starts coming out.
White lies and white lines. Super rich kids with nothing but loose ends. Super rich kids with nothing.